Welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, guys, if you're watching this, please go and subscribe to my channel, Jacob Elyachar, and please give us a thumbs up. And if you're listening to our conversation, please subscribe and give a 5-star rating. That being said, my next guest comes all the way from Canada. She is a Spotify verified artist, and as of this recording, has 19,000 monthly listeners, and she has over 1.7 thousand Twitter followers, 8,000 Facebook fans, and 21,000 Instagram followers. Please help me welcome the fabulous singer-songwriter KANDLE.
Thank you.
KANDLE, thank you so much for talking with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a very exciting day today.
Awesome. So when did you get interested in music, and how did that passion evolve into the desire to pursue a career in the recording industry?
I grew up with a Canadian rock star dad, so that had a lot to do with it. I lived on tour buses and in recording studios my whole childhood, but I never thought that I had any musical talent, to be honest, and I never really thought about pursuing it. And in my late teens, I started writing songs, but for other people, because I didn't think I could play my own songs. And I just kind of slowly started getting my foot in the door that way by just as a writer. And that just led to little bits of performing here and there and eventually making my first EP. And I had no expectations whatsoever, and I never thought about taking it seriously, but things started taking off pretty quickly, and I suddenly realized, quite late, I guess, at like 20, that maybe I could do it professionally.
And congratulations, because there's often a rare occasion when we're talking about talk about famous musicians who are recognized worldwide, and then you have the kids that also want to pursue their own path. Do you think it's very hard to be compared to your rock star parents?
Yeah, at first it was. When I first started, no one was taking me seriously, and you would almost think the opposite would happen, that I would have some sort of advantage because of his connections and his credibility, but nobody would take me seriously. So I actually moved to Montreal, Canada, which is a totally different scene, totally different music industry, and everyone is French and very artistic. And I started my career there because nobody knew who my dad was there. So I started doing big tours in France and around Europe and all over Quebec. And then I kind of proved to the rest of the Canadian industry that I was legit by doing it on my own.
That's incredible. I think you deserve a lot of praise, because I love when people do that and go out and prove on their own. And it sounds like I'm a little unfamiliar with the Canadian music industry, but it sounds like there's two different industries.
Yeah, it's very strange.
The
Quebec industry is much bigger than all of Canada somehow. Like in Quebec, they have their own The Voice, Le Voix. They have tons of late night TV shows where artists can play and artists can get interviewed, and the artistic support in Canada is pretty good, but in Quebec especially, it's its own world. There's their own Oscars and their own Grammys just in Quebec. So it's its own bubble, but it's a pretty incredible scene there. But it doesn't translate to the rest of Canada, which is really interesting. When I realized on my first record, when I had sold 20,000 records, I was so excited, and I realized it was all in the French world. And no one in the English territories knew what I was up to or who I was. I thought, wow, very interesting.
It is. So who are some of the your biggest musical industry role models, and how did they influence your sound?
I think for me, a big one is Sharon Van Etten. I've followed her career for so long, and I absolutely adore her. And I just love that she has always been true to who she is as an artist, and she's never stopped. And I think she's like 40 now, but she's finally now getting the most recognition and praise she's ever gotten in her career. And she's just been consistently making amazing records for so long. And I just love watching her grow as an artist. And she never sells herself out. She never gets pressured to be something she doesn't want to be. And she's just this incredible, strong woman, a mother, a songwriter, a performer. And I just look at everything that she represents and it inspires me so much.
That's incredible. And like the thing is, it doesn't matter where you get, if you get famous, no matter what age you are. Like, I think a lot of people who find their success when they're older have much more drive to them. And they already know the path. And they don't fall off that path so easily.
Yeah, and you have a lot more stability, obviously, when you're older. When I think about some of my earliest big shows, I was so not ready. Like, I once played a stadium in Paris when I had pneumonia, and I fainted, and it was humiliating, but I didn't have the knowledge and the confidence to let everyone know I wasn't well enough to do that. You know, I should have been in the hospital, but instead, the young me felt like I had something to prove, and my health was second. And it's, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble in the early days when you think you have so much to prove.
First of all, I'm glad that you're okay and you learned your lesson from that. And I think everyone, no matter what, if you're in the music industry or you're a podcaster, your health is your number one priority first. Your craft is second.
Totally. And took me a long time to learn that, I gotta say.
However, lesson learned.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All righty. I know we talked about songwriting briefly, but can you describe your songwriting process to my audience?
Sure. Yeah, for me there's no like one formula or one trick that I go to. Sometimes it's as easy and simple as I write a song in a dream and wake up and it's done. And other times it'll start with just a couple lyrics I wrote on a napkin that I'm like, ooh, this is good. I have to turn this into something. Or I'll be humming something for months and wonder, is that already a song or why is that in my head? But it comes to me in all different ways. And I think you just always have to be open to the ideas and melodies you're hearing, and anything can become a song. And you also have to be okay with if it doesn't. You know, you can't beat yourself up if you're sitting there with your guitar for 5 hours and getting nothing. You got to be like, okay, that one didn't pan out. Another idea will come. And I just, songs come to me in all different ways. And I think my only real job for songwriting is to just be open to whatever comes and be willing to explore any idea and any melody and lyric that I hear.
So speaking of songs, I've actually picked out 5 songs for us to talk about. I want to start out with Demon. It's your most streamed song on Spotify. 835,000 listens.
Yeah, awesome.
It's just that song. So what did it feel? So what is that song? And then were you surprised about how much that song has taken off?
Yeah, I think initially I was, but also that was actually one of the few that I did write in a dream. Woke up and recorded. And I remember finishing it in the studio and thinking like, oh, I think people are going to like this. And it really took off on radio and it started to do really well. And I was just really excited that I created something that people would start shouting out at my shows and singing along to. And that was the first experience like that I'd ever had, of a whole crowd that knew the words and that kind of excitement. And it was pretty thrilling when I was watching it take off.
It's amazing to see a song take off. And like, I can just imagine the source of pride that you must have felt that, and like when you saw those streaming numbers come in.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
All right, let's talk about Not Up to Me.
Yeah, that was from the same record as Demon. And that song I wrote about someone I love very much that was struggling with an eating disorder and depression. And I was very, very frustrated that no one else around her was seeing what I could see. And a lot of people, when they have eating disorders or issues like that, they get a lot of compliments. You know, when you're underweight, when you're doing something not very healthy for yourself, you often get praise. So she was being told how good she looked, how beautiful she was, and she was very, very sick. And I was trying to fight with her to get her to see what what I could see, and nothing was working. So I wrote her this song, and it ended up being the one thing that finally got her to open her eyes to what was going on. And I wasn't going to even record it or release it, but she really wanted me to. And I tried to really honor that story and that feeling when I made the recording, and make a video just as powerful as what the song itself is about. And again, I was very thrilled at the response I received for that. And we won a couple awards for the video, and it seemed to connect with especially a lot of young women that knew exactly what I was singing about, and knew how it felt to feel very alone, and like, you had no options and no one there for you. And being able to relate to those people was, it felt very powerful for me.
I commend you, because the thing is, it must be very difficult to have songs rewritten about anxiety or depression or eating disorders. It's very tough for music. I commend musicians for writing crap and crafting well-versed songs, and all stuff not only empower but also maybe enlighten people.
Yeah, it can be. It's a very powerful thing, and sometimes it can be so emotional. Like, half the time when I'm singing it on stage, I'm just singing it and rocking out, and other times it hits me what it's about, and all the memories come back, and I'm like, oh no, am I going to cry on stage? It's a very heavy subject sometimes.
Speaking of a heavy emotional, How Can You Hurt Me?
Yes. Just going through all the songs, are we? That one, I mostly had a lot of fun writing that one. It's not as heavy as the previous songs. It was more about a story of when I had my heart broken pretty bad, and I didn't believe in love anymore, and I just wanted to have a very shallow, on the surface relationship with someone. And I found a very sweet rock star man, and we had a great passionate affair, but it was very much like, you can't hurt me because I don't even believe in love. And I learned quite a few lessons through that relationship of how it feels to just be kind of distant and cold, and how you can protect yourself and your heart, but in the end, it's not very real, and it can't really grow into something else. And that just was the wall that I built so I wouldn't be hurt anymore. So the chorus line is, when love's just a word I no longer believe, and you'll never try, you'll never use it on me.
Alrighty, Honey Trap.
Honey Trap. Yes, that's the last single I released. That one is, again, a heavy one. It's very much about the manipulation a lot of female artists have dealt with in the music industry. And I, unfortunately, have experienced a lot of that. And so often you walk into these deals and these contracts with labels and managers thinking your dreams are about to come true, and they offer you everything and tell you, you're the next big thing. And I've now been through that 5 times with labels and managers offering me, all my biggest dreams. And you just realize over time how much of your power is lost. And I found myself in a situation where I wasn't allowed to tour. I wasn't allowed to release music. I wasn't allowed to do interviews. And I signed away all of my rights and all of my power. And it was 4 years for me like that. So it was a huge hiatus in my career. And it was, unfortunately, at a time when Demon and Not Up to Me were doing very well. So I was kind of on the top of my game when I walked into that deal. And it nearly broke me. And Honey Trap is basically telling that story, but also educating people in that it's not as black and white as people think. You walk into those situations willing. I was very willing to sign that contract and to be taken over and have someone else control my life and make all these big decisions because I trusted them. And if you look back at any signs, you probably wouldn't see them because I was excited. I was happy. I thought that things were going to really work out for me until I realized it was too late and I had lost everything.
It just astonishes me. 4 years.
Yeah.
Taken away from your career. That's just awful.
Yeah, it was tough. And when I had to lawyer up and try and free myself, there's so many days I couldn't even get out of bed and thought, is this even worth it? Should I even bother? I missed possibly the 4 top years of my youth when I could have been doing this. And I just kept writing songs and I kept going one day at a time. And I don't think I knew of anything else I could do anymore. That seemed to still be my calling and still be my passion. And I no longer cared what the industry thought or what big opportunities or big, powerful people would take an interest in me anymore. I just wanted to do it for me. So this is the first time in 10 years I've been an independent artist. And it's a lot of work and it's scary, but it's also really cool and exciting to have total control and freedom. I can write a song today and release it tomorrow if I want. And I've never had that experience before. It's pretty fun.
And speaking of, first of all, before we get to the last song, I am so proud of you that you're able to do this and you're able to overcome this so much.
Yeah, I definitely haven't figured it all out. There's still, with like any traumatic experience in life, it's a journey to overcome and a lot of work, a lot of therapy, and a lot of patience and kindness with yourself to move past these things. But I am glad that I'm doing it. And I don't know what the future will bring, but I know that I'm a songwriter and I love making music.
Speaking of music and dropping a song like that, as of this recording, you'll release a brand new track called Misty Morning. I found the song very haunting.
Oh, thank you. I think.
It's a very beautiful piano ballad. Very beautiful.
Thank you. It's my first piano ballad, actually. I only just started playing piano this year. Always a guitar player.
Wait a minute. You started playing piano this year?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I wanted to learn finally and started YouTube lessons and asking friends to teach me chords. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of figure it out.
That's just incredible. And that's the result of a year. My God, that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so speaking of talking about being an independent record, we got to talk about Set the Fire. It's your 4th album. Mm-hmm. It'll come out this year, so it's your first independent record. So how is Set the Fire similar and different from your previous records?
I think it's always hard for an artist to really see the difference and the progression that they're making in songwriting and production. Because obviously, to me, I always sound like me. And then when I hear what fans and friends say, like, wow, that's so different. And I'm always surprised to hear that because I'm just writing songs. But one observation I have made is I listen back to my first records and I'm very proud of them. And I'm happy that they did so well. And, they were on major labels and stuff, very different. But I hear so much darkness and so much pain because it was the only way I had found to release a lot of trauma and a lot of issues. And I was diagnosed with PTSD and generalized anxiety disorder and all this stuff. And I didn't know how to get rid of any of it. So I was putting it all into songs and telling stories of childhood abuse and assaults and all these very heavy things. And then my lyrics, like they're cool lyrics, but they're very dark and a lot about like wanting to die and wanting it all to end and going to drugs and destruction. And it makes me pretty sad to even listen back. And I'm happy that I got those songs out and found a cathartic release in the songwriting. But what I'm writing now, I'm definitely more trying to release that and let it go. And though I'll always be a sad songwriter, it's just who I am and how I write. And those are the things that make me feel is more the dark side of life and more heavy things. But I'm definitely shifting my perspective and not feeling so much like a victim and so damaged and trying to rise above that and move forward.
And I think that these songs will become very empowering. I definitely predict that these songs will definitely empower people. And like, I know that it's definitely emotional stuff going on, especially with the success that Elyachar having, and it's definitely, and Phineas has as well. So it's definitely been stuff about dealing with those kind of emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really important journey for any artist, especially female ones, to find what empowers them. And I don't think I've ever truly been in an empowered state in my life. I've always never been in control and just tried to be the good, obedient girl that is accommodating to the industry, to the team, to what people want. And it's a big shift for me to learn how to take charge and be okay with it and make these big decisions based on just what I want. And still I get scared. I make a decision. I tell my team, like, is this okay? Am I allowed to do this? And they just say, yeah, boss, you're in charge. Whoa.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's better to have people that are like, yes, you're in charge, but let's talk about it. It's better to have people that support you, but also can say, wait a minute. Like, I think a lot of artists, what's the downfall of some artists? They surround themselves with all yes men. It definitely, the ego gets higher. You get a lot more story than tabloids. But however, if you have people that are that like gently push you and say that, you'll have a much better track record and a much better reputation in the music industry.
Oh, yeah. I feel very lucky to have the people around me that I now have, because I got to pick them rather than, when you sign a deal, you just, here are the people that work for you. You have no say and you can't fire them and you can't do anything about it. It's in your contract. And right now I have people around me that I've hired, that I've picked, that I trust. And if for some reason we don't want to work together anymore, we can part ways. There's no legal binding us at all. It's a huge freedom and a huge difference from what the music industry really is and how it's set up to just be owned by labels and be owned by the industry.
And speaking of collaborators, we got to talk about, have you thought about your dream collaborators, like guest artists that you want to come on, songwriters that you want to help pen, or producers, and how would they enhance your sound?
For me, it's more just a music love that I have, that I would love to collaborate just for fun. Artists like Anna Calvi and PJ Harvey, Michael Kiwanuka. It's like these artists that are making such powerful, beautiful music that is constantly playing in my home and in my headphones. And I would be so honored and thrilled to be able to create something with the people that inspire me and blow me away.
Awesome. So we got to start winding down our conversation. So what are some of your favorite social media apps? Like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and why do they stand out?
I think my favorite is Instagram. I honestly think it's the only one I really understand. And I really like just images and videos, and I love checking out what all my friends and other artists and fans are up to. And it's the app that makes the most sense to me. I'm still trying to learn TikTok, as I think everyone is, and it's so confusing to me.
This is a confession, I haven't even started TikTok yet.
It's confusing. It's like hard on the brain to start all over again because it kind of looks like Instagram, but it's not. So I keep wanting to do Instagram type things and like, no, this is all different. You have to do something totally different.
And let's not forget that that both of us are very, very busy with our time and value our time. So like solving a TikTok riddle we can't afford to solve a TikTok riddle.
No, I'm like running a business all day and in the studio and then thinking like, do I want to put on a fun outfit and spend 3 hours thinking of a TikTok skit? Or do I want to write a song? It's
absolutely
balance, because obviously social media is very important for artists right now when we can't get out and perform and travel around. But it's also like, it's not something I really ever desire to do. I don't wake up thinking, oh, I'm excited to film myself doing something entertaining right now.
Awesome. So if you have the opportunity to meet with other artists that are trying to break out of the industry and be their own independent artists, what advice would you share with them?
I think the most important thing is to really listen to your gut. And there are good labels and good people out there. I know a lot of them, and the independent route isn't for everyone, but I think the power dynamic thing is very, it could be a very slippery slope. So I would never advise any artist to sign a deal feeling like they have to, feeling like that's their only opportunity. And I know a lot of new and young artists that as soon as a label's interested, they think that's it. That's their opportunity. That's their chance. And usually they're pretty shit deals and pretty unfair, and they want the world for 5 albums and to own everything you do. And I would just say listen to your gut and know that that's not your only option. And you can do so much on your own, and you can do so much with just a good support system around you. And know that a label doesn't guarantee success. A label doesn't guarantee anything other than a loan that you probably will never pay back.
It's tough. It's tough. But however, where can my audience find your music and also support, and how can they support you and also connect with you?
Yeah, I am on every and all streaming platforms and all social media apps, so I'm pretty reachable. I do have a Patreon where I make some exclusive content and do little performances and stuff just for the real diehard fans. But I appreciate any and all support, just adding a song or sharing it with a friend or just letting me know what you think of what I'm releasing. It's just any way we can connect in a pandemic, I think is really important. And us artists, we love doing that. That's why we release music, is we hope it connects with people. So reaching out and having a conversation is always really nice, and I really appreciate it.
All righty, guys. If you want to hear more of my conversations, head to and miss any episodes of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. You can download those episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. Just type in Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR Podcast, and you'll be able to find them. And are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Subscribe and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. It's Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. I just want to let you know, Candle, that Jake's Take, the blog that started it all, is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And guys, to find more articles, interviews, including my take on Candle's Honey Trap, head to jakestake.com. And more importantly, guys, please consider helping me keep Jake's Take and my platform up and running. Head to PayPal. You'll find the link to it in the story and also on the podcast and also on the website. I really appreciate all the help and support you can. Candle, thank you so much for an eye-opening conversation. I really learned a lot today, and I think hopefully my audience learned a lot as well.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's very nice.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.